Welcome to Pep Talks with Jeanne. I'm your host, Jeanne Pepper. I started doing Pep Talks as a way to inspire you to do intentional acts of kindness and to further the goals of Blaze It Forward. Since Pep Talks began, it has evolved, and now I use it to interview people actively making a difference in this world through their volunteerism, community service, or careers. My guests are all here because they have dedicated their lives to making this world a better place. Join us as we delve into the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of these truly inspiring and hardworking people. This season, we will be focusing on the quiet superheroes, the thoughtful, kind, and forward-thinking community-minded individuals that teach us about resiliency, abundance, and how we can turn trauma, tragedy, and life challenges into meaningful, intentional action to repair our world. Welcome to another episode of Pep Talks with Jeanne. My guest today is investigative journalist Julie Anderson-Holburn. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's tell the audience about who you are and what you do, because what you do is really important for our society and very much underrated. And it should be, you should be appreciated for what you've done and the sacrifices that you've made. Julie exposes what you claim is systematic corruption within the Orange County Family Court system. You use your own personal experience as the basis for your work because you have been through this. You have recounted your decade-long legal battles. They began with your divorce in 2010, is that correct?
Originally in Arizona in 2000, but my second divorce in Orange County back here.
Okay, so you've had two divorces and you've had to deal with this two times with two different sets of children.
Yes.
And this included your first ex-husband's repeated abductions of your children.
My second ex-husband repeatedly crossed state lines with the children. Yes.
You have also had conflict with various entities in Orange County, including the school district, Newport Mesa Unified School District, and the Irvine Company. You have alleged intimidation and retaliation. Yes. You described experiencing secret court hearings and a judge reversing a decade of rulings that were in your favor.
Correct.
Yeah. You have a Substack. It's called Unveiled and Uncensored, where you aim to create a platform for others to share similar stories of injustice and to advocate for change. Thank you for that. You are more or less involved statewide, but you also have looked into cases all across the nation in your reporting. And if people have stories or have their own issues that they would like you to investigate, they can email you.
Yes, they can find my email on my Substack.
Yeah, and we're going to have all of that information available for our listeners to be able to make contact with you and learn more about what you do. So the reason I wanted you here is I've always kind of had a soft place in my heart for the underdog and the little guy that is working so hard against a system that doesn't really appreciate them, doesn't seek to help them to make positive change. And I appreciate what you're doing because as an attorney, I know that dealing with a legal system that is an unjust system, an unfair system, is hard enough when you're an attorney. And I can't even imagine what it's like for someone that isn't and has to deal with someone like me, either representing them or going after them. I wouldn't want that for myself. So, yeah, my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I think the point of having you here today is you have been resilient. You haven't given up. You continue to fight for not only your children, but for a better world. And that is hard. That is really hard work. And I don't know if people understand how hard it is as a single mom to be dealing with not only exes and all of the normal issues of raising children. Teenagers are not easy. But then to also have a backdrop of a legal system that just doesn't listen to you. And gosh, attorney's fees are expensive. I've been helping a friend just, try to come to terms with how much it's going to cost for a child support modification. can cost almost as much as the money that you get in your modification if you're not careful. So, these things aren't easy, and most people will end up divorced statistically. So if you have children and you're part of the majority of people that get married and get divorced, then you probably can relate to a lot of this. So let's get on with it.
Okay.
Can you walk us through how you got to this place? How did you tell us about your first marriage? What happened there?
I was 16 and a half when I met him. He was 12 years older. We got married, and we were married for 11 years, and we had 3 beautiful children together. And basically, I grew up in the marriage, and he did not, and we divorced. And that was my first experience with the horrors of family court in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, let me stop you there for a second. I want my audience to understand that you were 16 years old when you met the man that would become your husband. Your mother was she wasn't a part of your life. You've mentioned that she was abusive and basically abandoned you.
Well, actually, I had been living with my dad, and my mother begged for me to come down because she had gone to therapy to live with her in Carlsbad. And that's how I met my first husband, was moving down there trying to reestablish a relationship with her after her claiming she had been to therapy and fixed all of her issues. And she didn't.
Okay, let me stop you. How old was your husband when you met him?
I met him when I was 16 and a half, and he was 12 years older, so he was about 28 and a half.
Okay, so he was 16 years older than you?
12.
12 years old, sorry. 12 years older than you. That's a pretty big age difference.
Yes.
And most people have parents that would say, that's not going to work. You're only 16.
Right.
Okay. But you didn't get that. You didn't have that kind of parenting. And then at 18, you married a 29-year-old?
I married him, yes.
Okay. And parents gave you their blessing?
Yes.
Okay. And that was here in California?
Yes, it was.
Okay. But you ended up migrating to Arizona with him?
Yes, his family had roots established in Mesa and Phoenix, and he wanted to start a mortgage business there. So we moved there. I relocated there, and we lived there for 18 years. And it was wonderful. I made a lot of friends. I love Camelback Mountain because I like to hike, but it was never home.
And you had 3 children with him?
Yes, 3 amazing, beautiful children.
And where are those kids now?
2 are still in Phoenix. They're adults. They're and they're close, around 30. And then my youngest son stayed with me full time, and he's out here going to college at Cal State Fullerton.
Okay. You eventually moved back to California.
I did. We moved back. I met my second husband, and we moved back in 2010.
Okay, so then that started up a whole new situation for you, because then you had 2 more children with him in a very short period of time.
Yes, I was told I couldn't have any more children. I suffered 3 miscarriages, and then I got pregnant and back to back with 2 miracle babies, and very, very grateful for that. They're the loves of my life.
Okay. But that marriage didn't last, because after you had your second, 5 weeks later, you had filed for divorce.
Yes, the abuse escalated pretty quickly, especially after we were married, actually, like the morning after. And it was shocking and terrifying. And the occurrences just seemed to escalate. And so the marriage didn't last very long.
Were you able to be around someone that was abusive while you were pregnant with your second and taking care of a baby?
What do you mean?
Well, you said that it was horrific abuse. So you were pregnant pretty soon after you had the first baby. You're taking care of that baby. You're pregnant again. How did you manage to live with somebody that was abusing you during that? I mean, what kind of abuse are we talking about?
Screaming, grabbing my throat, choking, holding me up against a wall, pushing. I think the final escalation was we had moved back out here into a corporate rental, and I had caught him in a lie, and it pissed him off, and he followed me towards the stairs and shoved me down a flight of stairs. And had I not hooked my arm in the banister, I'd probably not be here today.
Police reports?
Yes. EPOs, police reports.
What happened with that? Did he spend any time in jail?
No. They gave him 24 hours, I believe it was, to come back into the house and get his things out. And he had told them that I had friends and family in the area. So they said, go stay with the friends while he gets his stuff out of the house. And when I came back, he had cleared the entire house out and left the crib. And that was it. He took my bras and underwear, my purses, all my first 3 children's memorabilia, everything was gone.
Did you ever get it back?
No.
Never.
No.
None of those things ever made it back.
No. I got some of my clothes, but
Yeah.
not very much.
Did you have any recourse against him for doing that?
There was a stipulation that he was supposed to let me into the storage locker, and I couldn't get a ride, and I tried to, reschedule it. Because he had also left me without a car. I didn't have a car for 4 years with 2 little babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have been through the ringer.
I used to push our double stroller through CDM probably about 50 miles a week to take them to the library and to Pete's Coffee and to the park and to the grocery store. And yeah, a lot of people don't know what I have endured.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
So where do we start, Julie? Do you want to talk about the first, there's just been so many problems in both cases of your divorces. Both family courts did not treat you fairly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people in the beginning were like, well, you're not telling us everything. What did you do? Why would the courts do this? And it was before... it was so long ago, people didn't realize, and now they're starting to understand with the Arizona Ad Hoc Committee on Family Court Orders, which has become a national known event. Daniel Pollock spoke, some other high-profile civil rights people and parents came from all over the nation. So people are now starting to understand, and there's more and more people like myself who are writing on family court. So now people are like, oh, the general public is realizing...
They're waking up.
This isn't a one-off. This person isn't crazy. There's legitimate corruption and basically illegal orders being made in family court that are causing harm, substantial trauma and harm to families, good, safe parents. And we see it a lot, especially with mothers who are reporting child abuse or domestic violence. And there are good, safe, protective dads who are also retaliated against. But with the statistics of domestic violence and child abuse and all of that, it's primarily mothers who are being targeted. And of course, all the children in all those cases.
Yeah. And from what I've seen, children's opinions are really discredited.
Yeah, that's interesting because the law says at 14 that the judge is to consider a child's wishes, and that's part of why a minors counsel is appointed. And the law, I believe, you're a lawyer, you would know, it says something about going down to even like 12 years old, being able to have a voice and be heard in the court, on top of the, child's best interests, the early years doctrine, and Family Code 3044. All those are designed to help protect children, and it's not being recognized, it's not being enforced, and rulings are being made basically in violation of all of that.
Yeah.
And it's really disturbing with regards to minors counsel because they're acting more like gals, which are supposed to give their opinion to the court on what they think the best interest is for the child. And that happens in probate cases too with the elderly. But minors counsel in Orange County, they are the legal representative for the children, and they are to, by law, relay the child's voice and wishes and experiences to the court. And that is not happening.
Okay. And these are guardian ad litem is what you're talking about.
Yeah, guardian ad litem is typically used more so in probate court and juvenile court. And so that is where specifically they're supposed to give their opinion of what they think is the best interest.
But that is not what happens in family court. You don't need that in family court.
Yeah, well, that's what minors counsel, who is appointed in a lot of these high conflict cases. And when I say high conflict, if you get that designation, it's because there's some kind of abuse in the case. So it's kind of wrongly framed. It's not two people who are fighting. There is abuse, and somebody is fighting to protect the child or themselves or both. But the minors counsel, typically in Orange County, are not relaying the child's wishes, experiences to the court, and typically are acting as a third arm or a second arm to whoever the other parent is, the one that is, has abuse claims against them.
How does all of this work with the foster system? Do these kids get pulled out of your home and put into temporary care because of these things?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. A lot of families in family court are threatened with having their children removed and put into Orangewood in foster care, which that's terrifying for a parent. And if you know anything about what's going on in California, LA, Orange County is not immune to it. The huge settlement, $4 billion settlement for child sexual abuse involving the LA foster care industry that just came down a few months ago. So, minors counsels, opposing counsels, and judges will threaten parents with third-party placement, which is foster care at Orangewood. And that's terrifying. And it's also, some other family members sign up for that, and then they get, paid, $3,400 a month to have custody of a family member's kid. And that's not in the best interest of the kid, especially if, it's being done out of retaliation for somebody reporting abuse.
Sounds scary. Sounds scary out there.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Parents are terrified to walk into family court today.
For good reason.
Yes.
Really good reason.
Judges yell. Attorneys act inappropriately. They, commit perjury, fraud upon the court, and they get away with it. Kids get taken away. They get threats to have them taken away. Parents get put on monitored visitation for no just reason. They're not found unfit.
Yeah.
They just claim parental alienation, and then kids are taken away, flipped custody to the documented abuser, and put on monitored visitation. It's crazy.
Yeah. And this is not anything that isn't out in the public.
It's happening everywhere.
It's happening everywhere. And you're not crazy. You're definitely not crazy. I am, but you're not. Because I've read some of these stories, and not just stories that you've written. I have read other stories about this. It is an epidemic.
It is. It is absolutely an epidemic.
And there are a lot of wealthy men that use their positions of power to basically push their ex into really terrible places, even after they've abused children. And this has been a problem all over the country.
Yes.
This has been happening. And we finally started doing something, about these types of abusive situations where people use their positions of power to coerce other people. Like the Me Too movement was really about exposing that in Hollywood. And I think that this is kind of a trickle down that we're starting to actually hear about this abuse in other places too. And this is one of the places where it's also happening.
Yes.
So it's a systemic problem.
Right.
And this isn't the only place in our society where it exists.
Correct.
It exists in workplaces. It exists in family court.
Yep. Schools.
Absolutely. It's everywhere.
Yes.
So, and I think that if you can't acknowledge that, then you're not living in reality, because
Right.
I mean, really, the situation exists
Everywhere.
and in a lot of parts of a woman's life. Men may not be as sensitive to this, but as a woman, even being an attorney, I am sensitive to the fact that, there were situations in my own life where I didn't feel like I could speak out because I didn't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of injustice when I first started working as a lawyer that I saw all around me, and that directly impacted me. But if I said something, it would only make my situation worse. So I get it. I really do. And I hope other people get it also. We can shine a light on this, and maybe, it's not going to probably happen tomorrow, but if enough people start looking into this and caring about this issue, I think that things could get better.
I absolutely think that is going to happen. I think there's a momentum. I think I don't know what the timing is for Me Too and Gabby Petito, but I absolutely believe that Gabby Petito started a wave. How she was treated and mischaracterized as the victim, I think that started it, and people started speaking out. Then we had Maya and Sebastian from Santa Cruz, who I sat with their father up at the Judiciary Committee hearing when she spoke to the Judiciary Committee about Peaky's Law and her experience with reunification camps.
Okay, let me stop you for a second. Can you tell my audience what a reunification camp is and like what this movement is all about?
I can.
Yeah.
Reunification camps are akin to a concentration camp, basically for children. It's where they place children who have been involved in family court where one party is claiming the other party is abusive. They say that these are untrue memories, false memories, and they go and place children in reunification camps, withhold food and water and blankets, and tell them until they start believing that their abusive parent is not an abusive parent, but yet the protective one is the abuser, and those are false memories, they don't get food and water, and it's horrendous.
So this is happening in California?
Yes, it was happening in California. It may even still be happening. Maya and Sebastian are kind of the poster children for Peaky's Law. Maya spoke before the judiciary. I believe it was in 2023, and that led to Peaky's Law being passed, or it might have been 2022. And that law banned the practices of reunification therapy, reunification techniques, reunification camps, and also banned flipping custody to the documented abuser when there's allegations of abuse, and also cutting off contact with the protective parent.
So that's not supposed to happen anymore.
It's not supposed to happen, but it is. Peaky's Law is not being implemented or acknowledged or enforced in our family courts. And so those practices are still happening. As a matter of fact, we had the first ever self-proclaimed intensive reunification therapist. Sorry, let me say that again. We had the first ever Orange County intensive reunification therapist, self-proclaimed Jessica Sinclair, here in Newport Beach, California, who partnered with Dr. Sue Tompkins, Dr. Amy Stark, let's see who else. Oh, Dr. Stacy Kinney White. And when that law came out, they rebranded. They kept their website, kept their web address, and changed it to reintegration therapy. And then continued the same practices.
Oh, wow.
Until I did
clever.
Yeah, until I did a 6-part article on her. And in that process, I found out that she was lying about having a PhD or about to receive a PhD for about 12 years.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so then she removed herself from all her cases in Orange County.
Okay, so this was someone that was on the list of
Yes,
of evaluators, or
yes, Orange County is one of the few counties in California that still has what we call a court-approved panel or list of providers, whether that's minors counsel, custody evaluators, which are also known as 730 evaluators, and any sort of therapist or reunification therapists. So we have these published lists by the Superior Court saying these are preferred providers. And worse, the judges routinely appoint those same few people on those panels, and then when one of them gets on, they bring in their other friends that they work with to support their narrative, which the narrative is, in any case that has some kind of abuse, that the reporting parent is a parental alienator. Those reports are false memories, and therefore custody has to be taken away from the protective reporting parent and given to the alleged or documented abuser.
Okay, let me stop you there. what would be the motivation of one of these evaluators to make a finding like that?
Well, that goes back to what you were talking about earlier. Money, power, social status, and also money for them, not just the alleged abuser, whether that's a mom or a dad that has power or social status, but these court-appointed people get on these cases, and that's easy money for them. And the easiest way to keep that going and high conflict and in court, which means continuing to get their money, right? Because they're appointed, is to put the children with the wrong parent.
Wow.
Because then the other parent, the protective parent, everybody here knows is going to beg, borrow, and steal every last penny they can to get that kid back.
Right. And that's what happens. And so there seems to be some incentive built into the system to create high conflict cases.
Absolutely.
And the best way to do that is to give children back to an abuser and to alienate the protective parent.
Yeah. And I'm not the only one saying this. This has been stated at the Arizona Ad Hoc Committee joint legislative hearings by numerous members of the panel, experts that have become before them. Idaho just had a recent, or still having their child abuse task force, same findings there. Richard Luthman, a reporter off the East Coast, Mike Volpe out of Chicago, Dr. Bandy X. Lee, Tina Swithin from One Mom's Battle.
And all of these names that she's mentioning right now, these are well-known activists.
Yes.
They're very credible people. And they have investigated these situations thoroughly. They put their reputations on the line by printing these things, and they are never found guilty of defamation, even though they are terribly harassed by the people that claim that they're being defamed by them. They still stand up for themselves, and it's costly. It's costly to defend a defamation lawsuit, and it's easy to bring one. You just go find yourself a contingency fee attorney, and they'll do it for you.
Correct.
Yeah, but the only thing that you can use to defend a defamation case is the truth.
Yes.
So they always win. So that's the good news.
Yeah.
Yeah. These narcissists who bring these defamation cases, they can't win. They just can't, because the truth is always going to be their biggest problem. Wow. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
And, we're really just scratching the surface, because, Julie could talk about this stuff endlessly. There are just so many incidents probably where you had to call the police and where you had reports taken and where nothing was done. Nothing was done to help you. The situation was probably aggravated.
In my personal experience, not only was nothing done, even having a restraining order that was then renewed, and because my ex, in my personal experience, went unchecked, he escalated in his forms and occurrences of abuse. And when I would go to Newport Beach Police for help, I basically got abused there because they just sort of mocked me and gaslit me and, tried to minimize what was going on. And, it was appalling. It was appalling.
Yeah, it is appalling. But, that's why we had a Me Too movement, because for years, women were being abused by the people that they worked for in Hollywood. It happened for a long time, and nobody talked about it, and they just got away with it. So these things happen, and it's good that people like Julie are standing up and saying, look, it happened to me, because this is not an easy road that you're on.
Right.
It's not easy.
Well, and it's happening. It's so rampant, and now is the time with all these other things happening. It's time for a massive overhaul of the CPS system, how it operates, the family court, how it operates, juvenile court, and how law enforcement responds to domestic violence and child abuse.
Yeah.
It's time for a complete overhaul and change for the better for America's children.
How do you think that could happen? Do you think that it's got to be from our legislature? Because the judiciary system isn't going to right itself.
Well, so we already have a lot of laws in place. They're not being followed and enforced. So that's part of the problem.
And that has been a problem in almost every part of California law is that we have a lot of laws that don't have any teeth in them, and they're really not, even when they're enforced, nothing happens to the people that caused the problems in the first place.
Well, yes. And there are laws with teeth, and they're not being implemented and enforced by law enforcement, by our local DAs, or in family court by the judges, by the appointed minors counsel and therapists and attorneys. They're looking the other way. And part of the issue is our Cal Bar has been, as we know, what's been in the news with the Tom Girardi scandal, corrupt. He apparently bribed some of the staff there to the tune of $1 million. So we need Cal Bar to step up and start investigating and holding, bad lawyers accountable. We need the Commission on Judicial Performance to step up. We can look at those reports. Anybody can get them online. They get so many complaints, but they don't investigate very many. I mean, I think it's even less than 10% that they even investigate. And of that, it's maybe 2 or 3% that they actually hold any judges accountable. So that's a problem. We have judicial immunity, which is a judge-made rule. And we just learned from a civil rights attorney who spoke before the Arizona Senate panel that it's not in the Constitution. It's a judge-made rule, and it needs to be reversed. And why are we giving immunity to judges and lawyers and minors counsel and quasi-judicial immunity to therapists who are causing harm to children? If they're not causing harm to children, then they have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But because they're protected, it perpetuates the orders that are causing harm to children. So we need to do away with judicial immunity. We need cameras in courts. We need 24/7 live stream family court hearings, accessible remotely, because let's face it, it's a digital world, and there's laws in place for protecting privacy, and they're very specific. So you can have, just like the criminal courts that you can log into anytime, you should have that for family court. And now start holding these judges and attorneys and therapists accountable by having eyes watch them. And in those moments where there's sensitive information, the laws talk about, sealing transcripts, court hearings for those narrowly tailored moments. And we're talking about when child sexual abuse is being talked about, or domestic violence, specifically in those, 20 or 30 minutes, or maybe it's 45 minutes, or they're reading a CPS report of confidential information. That's when you block out the public. But the rest of it needs to be open. Right now, we have judges who are sealing 5-day hearings because they don't want the public to see how they're interacting with these parents.
How do they justify that? Like, what is the reason given? Who are they trying to protect when they make a decision to do that?
Well, they're doing things that don't follow the laws, so they don't want the public to see it. They don't want anybody to get a hold of the transcripts so they can have proof about it. And so they're just sealing entire days.
Is it to protect the privacy of the children?
No.
Is it to protect the privacy of the people involved?
They will say that it's to protect the privacy of the children. They will literally say that, but we're talking about divorce cases where maybe the children are discussed here and there for 30 minutes at a time, maybe 45 minutes, but not for 5 days straight.
Yeah. But you're also talking about people's finances.
Well, but that's public.
No, not really. You can't really talk about how much money is in someone's bank account and expect that to be okay to be released to the public.
Well, family court hearings, just like criminal court, are public hearings.
So anybody can go to the courthouse and sit in the room when this is going on and hear about anybody's financial business.
Yes. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, the Register of Actions are available, not just in California, but multiple states across the nation.
Right.
You can pull up, Register of Actions and buy the documents.
Yeah. Anybody can, if you found out about somebody getting divorced and you wanted to be nosy, you could just show up at the courthouse and sit in their hearing. Yeah. Unless it gets sealed for some reason.
But that's part of, how the judiciary was designed to keep them accountable.
Yeah.
So when judges start sealing 5 days of hearings and it's not sensitive information, that's a problem because other things are happening in that courtroom that are inappropriate.
Yeah.
Due process is being violated. Parents are being treated inappropriately. Um, you know, inappropriate conduct is being covered up.
Yeah. If you were a lawyer, what would you be doing right now?
If I were a lawyer?
Yeah. If you were me and you were in the same situation you're in right now, how would that change things for you?
With regards to my writing or my personal case?
Both.
Well, obviously, I would be more educated on the law and be able to write.
Yeah. I mean,
Instead
you
of
are very educated on it.
Well, yes, but I do have legal sources I go to for advice.
Yes.
To explain to me,
Yeah.
and interpret.
Yeah.
So I can put it out there for, my readers.
Would you be representing people in family court, and how would you deal with these problems?
I mean, if I was good at it, yeah, I would absolutely. If I had that gift, I would, but I don't, unfortunately.
Yet.
And I would, hopefully, I know I wouldn't be very well liked, but I hopefully would be setting an example for other attorneys to step up and start practicing the way that they were supposed to. I mean, I grew up watching every law show you could ever imagine, every cop show, every investigative show, detective show. I had such a respect for the law. And then to step into family court, it was disturbing to see what was going on.
Yeah. And
and shameful.
You have lived experience with this too. So
yeah, and I sit in a lot of court hearings.
Yeah.
So it's not just, I mean, it's pretty bad. Like if you've heard anything read about Tar Nolan, or I did probably 6 articles on her. She's the quadriplegic mom that they took kids away. I mean, it's just appalling what happened to her.
And that was here in Orange County?
Yes. Yeah, she suffered a catastrophic accident in South Carolina, became a quadriplegic, lost her youngest child. They couldn't get her out of the car in time, and then suffered medical neglect. She was given an ultimatum by those close to her and caregivers to get out of the marriage or get full-time care, and ended up filing for divorce. And when she walked into family court, they have done nothing but do a social smear campaign inside and outside the court. And there's been very little actual law practice in that court. And they took her children from her. She's has a traumatic brain injury, and they shamed her and punished her for a catastrophic accident that required her to have 24/7 care and be on all this different kind of medication to prevent the seizures that come along with those injuries, and said because of that she was a drug addict and couldn't have her children, or because she had erratic behavior, which is a normal part of suffering a catastrophic accident. Instead of coming around and supporting her and having therapists for the children, for them to understand, because they were younger when this happened, what happened to their fully functioning mom who became a quadriplegic. They victim shamed her. They just smeared her up one side and down the other, and took her children from her. She hasn't seen her children in 3 years. And highly irregular things happened in her court proceedings.
Yeah.
Like,
do you see a lot of irregularity in certain courtrooms, or is it just is it certain judges that seem to do it more than others, or do they all do it?
Well, definitely there's, I think, unfortunately, I feel like from my investigations and experience and witnessing and reading documents, that Orange County is probably, if not the top corrupt courthouse in the nation, it's one of the top 3, and it toggles between first, second, and third place between Chicago, maybe Santa Clara or Santa Cruz, and then possibly somewhere in Pennsylvania or Connecticut. But I hear, there's a concern. I just think it's really rampant, and I hate to say that because I'm sure there's a couple good judges, but with what I know and the research I've done, it's way too rampant, and I think it's part of the problem is that 95% or some high percentage to that degree. I haven't looked at this year's judges, but it's pretty close. They're all former, primarily OCDA deputy district attorneys. And we have a DA who doesn't enforce and protect children and women who are victims, or victims, period, unless it's significant enough that they're forced to act, like they're beaten near death or killed. So those same employees are going in and getting the judge seats. They run unopposed, and then they're handling family law cases. And yes, I would say that Judge Julie Palafox was supervising family law judge for many, many years while this was happening, and did nothing. I have seen the complaints that went to her. She's done nothing, or virtually nothing. Judge James Waltz has been in our courthouse for, 25 years. And all you have to do is read some of my articles and go to the Robing Room, which is an independent website that's run by somebody else, and read the decades of complaints from moms and dads. And really, our presiding judge, Maria Hernandez, has been in this position for many, many years. And before that, she was assistant presiding judge. And before that, she worked for OCDA. And so it's a culture. Mm-hmm. And it's a problem. It's a real significant problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What was the turning point that made you realize that your case was about more than just a personal dispute, but that there were this potential systemic issues here? What was it that kind of was your aha moment?
That's a great question. So my experience with family court was not great when I was in Arizona. It wasn't great in Orange County, but there was a period of time where I had a decent judge. And when I say decent, I mean he made pretty good orders. They could have been tighter. They could have been better. It was still stressful and terrible. And when I filed, well, there were a couple things when you read my bio or intro. There were a couple things that happened. And I was point blank told that the reason why my family law case was all of a sudden nosediving in 2021 was because I was refusing to settle the multi-million-dollar mold and asbestos civil and limited suit I filed against the Irvine Company. And flat out told by that attorney representing that case for me that that's why everything was nosediving. And about that time is when I was told that they forced my judge, Sarmiento, to retire. They put me in with Sandra Leal, who was on my case for 8 months and was ordered off my case 3 separate times by the presiding judge, and she ignored it and continued to make wildly inappropriate and unlawful orders, and then put me in with Judge Waltz. And so that was, during all of that happening, it was so traumatic. It was hard to get my head up above water and look down and see what was happening. And I kept asking myself, am I crazy? Is this really happening? Is this that big of a deal? And when that attorney told me that, it was a validation. And I started reaching out to advocates, and they were in disbelief. They were like, what? I mean, again, family court is horrific to begin with. But then you look at what was going on in my case, and you couldn't explain it. I mean, it was so ridiculous, so outlandish, that 100% was public corruption involved in what was happening, and the terror, the trauma, and the horror my children and I were being subjected to.
Yeah. What do the judges get out of this? I mean, they're not allowed to take gifts from lawyers or evaluators, are they? And the reason I say that is because even Clarence Thomas was caught taking gifts.
Well, there is definitely a lot of talk and speculation that that is happening in Orange County. And there is, it's known that the judges hang out with the attorneys, they socialize together quite frequently, as do the therapists and the minors counsel. And so that's something that parents have addressed, and even the Arizona Ad Hoc Committee panel has discussed, and other journalists and advocates about separating the friendliness between the judges and the attorneys and the court appointed people, because it seems that they have developed friendships, and there's ties that might be influencing outcomes. And there is talk across the nation and in the state of California that there are financial incentives or some kind of benefits that kind of mirror or are similar to what we're already seeing and already discussed about professionals being appointed to the case and getting, I guess that's their, mortgage, their steady payment,
Right,
because
right.
they're appointed.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would think that it would be prohibited for anybody to offer anything to a judge.
Well, right.
You would think. And if it
No,
happened,
I
a judge
believe.
would need to be transparent about that.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, we're talking about Orange County, where Andrew Doe was just caught embezzling millions of dollars and sending it to a nonprofit that his daughter was running, who also just graduated from UCI Law School. And he got indicted and removed from the Board of Supervisors. I think that's the first time a Board of Supervisor in Orange County has been indicted and removed and is now in prison. So when you have that kind of bribery going on at that level, who, by the way, his wife was Sherry Pham, who was assistant presiding judge until recently.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yes. So one might make the leap that there's probably some kind of benefits.
There's something going on here.
Yes.
And it's really hard to know unless someone's actually going to
Investigate.
Not just investigate, but you'd really almost need a subpoena. Like there'd need to be some kind of maybe a grand jury investigation of what's been going on.
Well, yes. And I know that there have been many complaints to the grand jury over the last 10 years about family court that they have ignored. And I know recently there were many parents, like tens upon tens, that have made complaints to the presiding judge, Maria Hernandez, to the Commission on Judicial Performance, and to the OC Grand Jury, to the Attorney General, to the FBI. And I mean, lots of complaints. So hopefully something will happen. I think people are hoping, with the extra eyes on Orange County after the Andrew Doe and Sherry Pham scandal, that is in process. And it wasn't just Andrew Doe. We had the Anaheim scandal before that with Angel Stadium and Artie Moreno. We had other things within the County of Orange, other lawsuits. And of course, OCDA just had a $3 million verdict against them for malice against women. And there's 8 more pending lawsuits.
Yeah, yes, I am aware of that. And it's really disheartening.
Extremely.
Yeah. I mean, especially for me, because, I mean, not just for me, but, I was the beneficiary of the great work that they did in getting the conviction of the young man that murdered my son.
Who was the prosecutor?
We had Jennifer Walker was the one who tried this case, and she did a phenomenal job. She's an outstanding, I believe that she is an outstanding human, and she is terrific at what she does. She can do things with a feather that anyone else would need a hammer.
Wow. Well, I do know that there are some I've heard that there are some good prosecutors in the DA's office, and I think another name I've heard is Juliette Oliver is doing good work. But there are several in that office who are not, and who are harming children. In particular, Tammy Jacobs and Joe Faria have gotten themselves involved in a lot of family law cases involving abuse, and
Made the wrong decision.
oh yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
I really don't know what their motivation is,
Yeah.
other than it probably falls in alignment with all the other motivation we've discussed
Yeah.
going on.
Could be.
So,
I mean, who knows? I mean, because we had a presiding judge that was married to someone who was giving county funding to his daughter's
Family.
fake nonprofit.
yeah, and then they were turning around and buying $1 million homes and cars. But also, Sherry Pham stepped down because everybody runs unopposed, which is a problem in Orange County. That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
But Sherry Pham stepped down because the natural matriculation, I guess that's the word, I'm not sure if that's it, is to just move into the presiding judge seat. So she stepped down, and guess where she's a judge now?
Oh God, I'm afraid.
Family court.
What?
She's a family court judge.
She didn't lose her job
No,
after all of that.
no.
Wow, that's weird. What a weird system.
Well, part of that problem is the fact that, mainstream media doesn't cover this
Yeah.
because a lot of their funding comes from this industry. So, and OC likes their brand, and Voice of OC has written about how the branding of Orange County is so important. They've written about how we get our judges. They've written about how it's known that unless you came from OCDA, you don't get a judge seat. And, people just need to be reading this stuff and aware of it. And
So you like Voice of OC? You're a fan?
I'm a fan of all newspaper.
All right then.
But there are some very good articles in there. I really like Eliast a lot. Nick Gerda is amazing. That's who broke the Andrew Doe scandal and suffered a lot of wrath in the beginning.
I bet.
Yeah. I mean, Doe threatened to have him fired or demanded his resignation or something to that effect.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was with Voice of OC and then went to LAist. But even those guys, I couldn't get them to report on my case, couldn't get them to report on anything else. And that is part of why I became a journalist, because no one would write about it. And they would make excuses. Oh, it's a he said, she said.
Yeah. Well, that's why I do my podcast, because I just saw too much negativity. And unfortunately, this isn't the most positive of stories here. But what is positive is that you are taking on something much bigger than yourself. And you're doing it for the good of everyone.
I'm doing it for the children.
And for the children, but for all of us.
And Orange County leads the nation.
Yeah.
If we can get some change here, then the rest of the country will follow.
That's right.
And it needs to happen.
I mean, I hate to only focus on, the happy ending stories, because...
But this could have a happy ending, and it will, because it's time for things to change.
Look we've covered stories of people that have lost children to fentanyl overdose. We've covered stories of, people that have suffered significant losses. But, the underwriting theme of all of it is that these things make us purposeful. You can take these things, you can take these very hard things that happened to you when you were young, and you can spend your life fighting the system because you want to see a better world for everybody else. So I see that as a hero.
Wow. Well, thank you.
I think that heroes are made of people that take on things that are so vast and so complicated that most people just sit down and buckle up because they don't think that there's any way one person can make a difference.
That's so untrue. They can. You
heard it
just like you
from
are.
Julie. I know. I'm trying to make a difference one podcast at a time. But, the point is that we've got some significant issues in family court. And right here in Orange County.
Yeah.
I mean, because Julie's here, we know about it. I'm sure if you go to every family court in the United States, if it could happen here, it's probably happening everywhere.
It is. I have people reach out from all across the nation. Actually, I have people reach out from other countries wanting me to write on their story. And I'm so behind. I have so many stories to get out. I'm only one person.
I mean, the system doesn't like it when families break down. The system is it perpetuates this patriarchal system of keeping women in marriages that are bad.
Yeah, that's disturbing. I don't know why anybody would really want to do that, because both people are not happy and not productive, and, go find somebody else. Go get therapy and find somebody else.
Because the system doesn't want to pay for you to be on welfare. The system doesn't want to have to deal with putting your kids in foster care when they can be with an abusive parent who has money. Yeah, so the system likes twisted. It when we spend less money and when we keep people in their family units, and the system seems to continue to chug along when everything falls in place that way. And when everything starts breaking down and we have too many children in foster care, too many fathers in jail, too many mothers on food stamps, when we have too much of that, then the system grinds to a halt. And I think that these judges have been made very aware of that when they take these positions in family court, that they have to try to keep families together, whatever the cost is to the families.
But they're not keeping families together. So that's the problem, is they're not keeping them together. Right. Now, if they flipped it and actually followed the laws, actually were proactive, actually protected the victims, whether that's a protective parent and or children, think about the trickle-down effect for all the county services that wouldn't be needed, because kids aren't, and people aren't self-medicating, self-harming, continuing to be subjected to trauma and abuse. I mean, that in itself is a huge financial burden on every county, on our services. And if you just realize, if they could just get it right, that don't put the financial aspect of it first, put the welfare and safety of the people involved. Yeah. Everything else will fall in place.
But that costs too much money, Julie.
Well, I don't think it costs. I don't think it. I don't know that it. I don't know that it does, because I haven't seen all the numbers. Because I do know we have a huge problem with people on county services in Orange County.
What inspired you to turn your personal struggle into a platform for investigative journalism?
From my personal experience, people were coming to me, and so I knew I needed to do something to turn my pain into purpose. And I actually started out trying to be an advocate, and I wasn't seeing enough of a response and reaction. And I just sort of fell into the perfect situation to mentor under an award-winning journalist out of Sacramento for about 1.5 years. And it just clicked. It was, for the first time in my life, other than the passion of always just wanting to be a mom, I had another passion, not quite as equal as loving being a mom, but it was the first time in my life I knew 100% this is what I was supposed to do. And so that's what led me to doing this. And I will say that years and years ago, there was a moment where I was verbally wrestling with God like Jobette, and he, plain as day, told me at one point in time, you will be the hand in the gap on a one-on-one basis and a national basis. And I did not believe that, but it was always in the back of my mind, and here it is.
Wow. Yeah. What is the mission of your and goal of your Substack, Unveiled and Uncensored?
To expose what's happening to families and children in family court, and for real meaningful change.
Yeah. And, if anybody wants to read your articles, and they're really long and they're really in depth, if you're interested, just take a look at her Substack. I would say just take a look at it, and you can see how much time and energy she puts into these stories, and how much of your life has been devoted to this. Is very clear to me when I saw what you were doing, that you've pretty much sacrificed having a normal life, being able to do anything but investigate and write.
Well, yeah, it was the best way for me to help my children as well as everyone else's.
Yeah. How do you verify the stories and the information that's submitted by people who've experienced similar injustice?
Court documents, transcripts, police reports. I do a lot of reading.
Yeah.
A lot. Medical records.
Yeah. Because the integrity of your work depends on accuracy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're talking about really serious matter, children's lives.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of impact do you hope your work will have on the family court system and on public awareness? Where do you see this going?
I hope that Orange County cannot continue to ignore it like they have and make real change. And, they're aware that they lead the nation. California leads the nation, is supposed to lead the nation in policy. So that's what, I'm trying to get the legislature and the authorities to wake up.
What's it going to take to get a grand jury investigation?
In Orange County, I think it depends on who's sitting on the grand jury and who they're pulling from. The last few years, they pulled from OCDA and Sherry Pham. So I think it depends on who's sitting on that panel and their ethics.
Yeah.
And
what's been the feedback on your articles?
Very positive. People are thankful. I purposefully set all my articles to free because on Substack you can make them for paid-only subscribers, but they're all free because part of the problem with family court and CPS is that mainstream media will not write on them typically, and those that do, it's hidden behind a paywall, and people affected by family court and CPS typically don't have a lot of money, so I make sure that they get out, and word of mouth has helped that along quite a bit.
Yeah, but if you go on your Substack, if you want to make a donation to Julie's Substack, you can.
You can do a free monthly membership. You can do a paid monthly membership. You can do an annual paid membership. And I do take donations.
Yeah.
But that's just for general investigative work.
Yeah.
So that way I stay free of, I don't want people to think they can send me money and I'll write on their story. That's not how it works.
No. That's not how it works. It's just if you like Julie's work and her writing, you can say thank you by by paying for it through Substack. That's pretty much what that is all about. Yeah. Yes. Are you working on any other investigation or cases right now besides your own?
I've been covering Tawny Mina Grossman's case for almost 2 years. Tara Nolan of Tar Strong for almost 2 years, and those are still ongoing. I just wrote a recent Hague case. Joy Houghton, she's originally from Australia but was living with family in Newport Beach for about a year. That's a really big deal, and I have been working on a book.
Wow,
yes.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Do you have a publisher?
No.
Well, maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're writing a book, and what's the book about?
It's about my life experience with family court in Arizona and California and my journey.
Wow, I bet that's going to be an interesting read.
Yeah.
Great. Well, put me on the list. I want one.
Thank you.
When it's done. Yeah. What's the most important message you want to get across to people who are currently in the family court system? What would you tell them?
My message would be to their friends and family. Support them. Go with them. Believe them.
Yes.
And I'm serious.
Yeah.
Go to court with them. Go to the
it.
Meetings with the therapists and the attorneys because family court is a horrid place to go.
And they
in
need
America.
witnesses.
They do.
They need somebody to see this also.
Yes.
And to tell their friends about what they saw.
Right. And the more eyes in a courtroom, the better, the more behaved.
Yeah. The less crazy stuff happens in the courtroom when there's people watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
And go on social media and share my articles, share other people who are writing on this, and find a local advocacy group like National Safe Parents, Project Justice USA, One Mom's Battle.
Yeah. And I'm going to put this out there. If anybody doesn't have someone to go with them to court and they're afraid that this is happening in their case, get a hold of me. I'll go with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Let
huge.
me know. I want to witness this myself. I want to see it and I want to report on it.
Oh, and also there's a new group by a grandmother, Christine Fleming, and she formed California Family Law Naked Truth, and they're doing some really good work. They just held a protest on September 17th, and they've gotten a lot of attention to the
Good.
family court issue. Yeah.
Good. This has to stop.
Yes.
I've heard of it happening to too many people that I know.
Yeah.
I've heard it happening to women who are very successful.
Oh, yeah.
Especially.
That's crazy. I have
Yes.
professional women
Yes.
who are mandated reporters who are not allowed to have custody of their children
Yes.
because they reported abuse.
Yes, I have seen this myself, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it happen. I was in absolute shock, and I actually feel really badly because I was in such disbelief that I think I hurt the feelings of the woman who it happened to.
Well, it's unbelievable.
I couldn't believe it, and then that just made it harder for her because she's already dealing with the ramifications of an unfair, unjust system, and then to have one of her close friends question, what did you do wrong? How could this happen? Because it was just so unbelievable to me as an outsider to hear what had happened in court. I just couldn't believe that a judge, an evaluator, would do the things that they did.
An officer of the court would act in such a manner.
It made so little sense to me. But then when I hear that, they won't let people have access to courtrooms, they won't allow them to be publicly,
viewed.
It starts to make sense. And, when I was practicing law a long time ago, I worked with a lot of cases having to do with insurance, and there was a cabal of forensic experts that we used, and there were a lot of people that we did work with who I would have to say, I wouldn't call it bribery, but there were a lot of parties we were invited to. There were a lot of goodies that came our way if we used these particular people. So she's not making this up. This happens. This is how these professionals curry favor with their clients and with people that will pay them, hundreds of dollars an hour to do work that there's no end in sight to how much they can bill.
Yes.
More or less.
Yes.
These are open. These are like the deepest pockets on earth for an expert to be able to start charging for for an evaluation or an audit of anything.
Yes.
You're in for a big bill.
And it's across 3 different courts. It's across family court, probate court, juvenile court, and it's a lot of times the same exact players.
Yeah. There's so much more I'd like to ask you about. There's just, I wish I had another hour, but we are going to have you come back for a panel, and hopefully we'll hit on the things we missed in your interview today. But I want to thank you for being so brave and for being a voice for people that don't have a voice. You are doing something that is so necessary and so hard. Nobody wants to take on a position like you're in against a system that is so huge and so powerful. I mean, it has the power to crush you if it could figure out a way to do it.
Oh, they've been trying.
Yeah, but because you're not actually actively involved in a case.
That's why they took my kids from me.
Right. Well, they've done the worst they can do. So now there's nothing left.
Well, I'm the mom that Orange County and OCDA didn't plan for, and I'm speaking up for all the children and all the protective parents. And I want to say thank you for having me on and giving me this platform and sharing with me and your audience and you as well, turning your pain into purpose for what you've been through. So thank you.
That's what I'm here for. Thank you. And I hope to see some really great things come from your work.
I do too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks. And for all of you out there who want to read more about my work or reach out to me because of your own family law or CPS case, you can find me on Substack at Julie M. Anderson-Holburn, as well as on Instagram. And my email is at the end of every article. And you can find me on Linktree under the same name.
Blaze It Forward is a campaign my family started in 2018 after our son Blaze was murdered. Blaze It Forward provides the inspiration to thousands of people to repair the world with intentional acts of kindness. If you would like to learn more about Blaze and how you can make a difference, check out www.blazebernstein.org or join our Facebook group at #BlazeItForward. You can also check out my website for this podcast at www.PeppTalksWithJeanne.com. There you can follow along with my podcasting adventures and learn more about my fascinating guests and their passion projects. I would like to thank all of the volunteers who help make my philanthropic endeavors a reality. Today that includes my producer, Eli Moskowitz, all of the volunteer crew members who join us, and a special thank you to my son, Jay Bernstein, for the original theme song you hear at the beginning and ending of each show. This has been another episode of Pep Talks with Jeanne. Until next time, keep on making this world a better place.